Estate was created in 1997. 14 years old, is that correct? Yeah, in 1997. Toby, who created Toby's Estate, was actually studying to be a lawyer, but he changed direction, decided that he wanted to sell coffee instead. He traveled to Brazil, and he lived in Brazil for a long time learning about coffee growing and coffee roasting. He returned to Australia and began roasting coffee in his mother's garage, and delivering coffee on his bike to cafes around the area. And at the time, it was quite unusual to be able to get really high quality coffee beans, so he was quite successful, and the business grew slowly at first, but then more and more quickly. And now we're a big company that we buy green coffee, we roast it, we blend it, package it, and sell it to cafes. And we also run our own cafes. So there are a lot of cafes that use Toby's Estate coffee, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cafes that are actually run by Toby's Estate. And this is one of them.
Yeah. So where are the others?
There's one in Melbourne. There are 4 more in Sydney. One of them is just open at the airport. One's just down the road here at Broadway. The original one at Woolloomooloo, which is right across from Toby's mum's house. So he started roasting in the garage and then just basically moved across the street to the cafe. And then there's one in Brisbane. Yeah. Well, honestly, I think in Sydney everybody drinks coffee. And it's more a question of where they drink coffee that determines their, social class and age. And I think Toby's has a reputation that's a little bit higher up than standard coffee. So I think we attract kind of a mid-20s to mid-40s crowd of people who have a bit of money and see themselves as being sort of connoisseurs. They can tell a good wine from a bad wine and a good coffee from a bad coffee and that sort of thing. I think that in the beginning, Toby's Estate was perceived as more of like a trendy, hip cafe, and we attracted more young, trendy, hip people. But I think because we've been around for quite a long time now, that image is fading away and it's being replaced by an image of more of like a high quality cafe. I think it depends a little bit on the area, but in general, I think that a milk coffee, either a cafe latte or a flat white, which is basically like an Australian cafe latte, are the 2 most popular drinks. I think out in the suburbs, the cappuccino is more popular because, as you know, in Australia, cappuccino always has chocolate on the top, and I think that the chocolate sweetens up the drink, and so people who might not necessarily like coffee, they like it a little bit sweeter, so the chocolate helps. I would say 97% of our coffees are milk coffees. So first of all, we don't export coffee to other countries because one of the basic beliefs of Toby's Estate is that coffee is a fresh product, like bread, like milk. It needs to be used just a short time after it's roasted, no more than 3 or 4 weeks after it's roasted, otherwise it's too old and it goes flat. So it's very difficult to export coffee and still maintain freshness. But in fact, we have started roasting in New York and in Singapore. So we are starting to move internationally, but we don't actually export. We just set up a similar kind of operation in another country. As to how we identify ourselves as Australian, honestly, at this stage, both the New York and the Singapore operations are quite new, and we haven't really needed to think too hard about identifying ourselves as an Australian company. So, to be honest, I don't think we have a considered strategy. I think when people meet Toby and the other staff, who are mostly Australian, then it's obvious. An American can obviously tell that Toby is Australian, and so he doesn't need to explain or make a point of that.
Okay. So enjoy.
Yes, I love it. I love working with coffee, and Toby's estate has always been lucky because Toby loves coffee more than he loves money. So he's always, as long as I've known him, he's always bought the highest quality coffees, and he's always looking for new coffees and different coffees, and so it makes my job really interesting because I get to roast a lot of different, really amazing coffees, and so it's fun. It's fun. It's not the same old thing every day. For us, it's usually in the fall and winter. Fall and winter, leading up to Christmas. Leading up to fall and winter in Australia. I think tea is fading away, to be honest. Which is sad because tea is every bit as beautiful and complex and interesting as coffee, but in our experience at the cafes, because we sell tea also, but if a group of people comes to Toby's and 3 people want to drink coffee, 1 person wants tea, the tea drinker doesn't want anything special. They just want regular old black tea. We say, we suggest, well, would you like to try a beautiful Chinese kimun or a white tea or an aged pu'er, and they're always like, no, just regular tea with milk. So yeah, in the last 2 years, last 3 years, coffee has nearly doubled in price. Yeah. C is the standard value for 1 pound of coffee on the New York Stock Exchange. Right? And it's kind of a global measure of coffee prices. Yeah. In the late 90s, C was around 60 to 70 cents. Yeah, it was quite low. So 1 pound of coffee cost about 60 cents. Yeah, and that's very low quality coffee, but it's just a trading measure. So in the middle of last year, C went up to $2.40.
Whoa.
Right? And since that time, it's come down again. I mean, 60 cents, 70 cents is too low. It's lower than the value of the goods, so it was impossible for it to remain at that level. But $2.40 is really, really high. So it's for us. To be honest, it hasn't been as difficult because we were already buying very high quality coffee that was already quite expensive. So the percentage increase for our coffee was quite small. But for the people who are using cheap coffee, the percentage increase was quite large because it doubled or even trebled in price. So I don't know. I mean, I think Toby's estate has always stood out because Toby started the company at a good time. At a time when there were no other companies making this kind of high quality coffee. If he had to do the same thing today, I think it would be much more difficult because there are lots of good coffee companies now making high quality coffee. But when he began, it was quite easy because he was clearly the best coffee available. So the challenge was to convince people that it was good quality coffee.
Alright, what should I make?
Latte or...